stealing the show. Go, Indy, go, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Go, Indy, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Indy, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Grab your gear, the quest's in sight. Indy's leading through the night. Fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go, Indy, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Indy, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Chest, the dragon's near. Spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party strong, the dice will roll. Indy's world where we all control. Go, Indy, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Indy, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Go, Indy, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Indy, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Grab your gear, the quest's in sight. Indy's leading through the night. Fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go, Indy, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Indy, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Chest, the dragon's near. Spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party strong, the dice will roll. Indy's world where we all control. Go, Indy, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Indy, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Go, Indy, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Indy, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Grab your gear, the quest's in sight. Indy's leading through the night. Fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go, Indy, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Indy, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Chest, the dragon's near. Spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party strong, the dice will roll. Indy's world where we all control. Go, Indy, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Indy, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Go, Indy, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Indy, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. your gear, the quest's in sight. Yindi's leading through the night, fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Epic quest battle time, go, go, go. Chest, the dragon's near. Spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party strong, the dice will roll. Yindi's world where we all control. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Grab your gear, the quest's in sight. Yindi's leading through the night, fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Epic quest battle time, go, go, go. Chest, the dragon's near. Spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party strong, the dice will roll. Yindi's world where we all control. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Grab your gear, the quest's in sight. Yindi's leading through the night, fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Epic quest battle time, go, go, go. Chest, the dragon's near. Spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party strong, the dice will roll. Yindi's world where we all control. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Epic quest battle, let's go, go, go. your gear, the quest's in sight. Yindi's leading through the night, fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Epic quest battle time, go, go, go. the dragon's near. Spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party strong, the dice will roll. Yindi's world where we all control. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. And the quest battles, let's go, go, go. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. And the quest battles, let's go, go, go. Grab your gear, the quest's in sight. Yindi's leading through the night. Fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. And the quest battles, let's go, go, go. Chest, the dragon's near. Spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party strong, the dice will roll. Yindi's world where we all control. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. And the quest battles, let's go, go, go. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. And the quest battles, let's go, go, go. Grab your gear, the quest's in sight. Yindi's leading through the night. Fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. And the quest battles, let's go, go, go. Chest, the dragon's near. Spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party strong, the dice will roll. Yindi's world where we all control. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. And the quest battles, let's go, go, go. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. And the quest battles, let's go, go, go. Grab your gear, the quest's in sight. Yindi's leading through the night. Fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. And the quest battles, let's go, go, go.
Hello, hello, lovely people, if there is indeed anyone here, but this is only the second week of streaming, so that's fine. And you may have noticed a few changes, such as a title sequence, and I have my own theme song now, so that's a thing. And if I hit, There we go. How are you all doing? And welcome to Yindie Plays, the post for Halfwits stream. So, episode 2 has just gone live this week. This was very much Stu and Steve's episode. And although it's probably the shortest episode in the entire season, it is absolutely one of my favourites, just due to the character interaction between Steve and Stu. It is just absolutely wonderful. But for tonight, I was going to continue on with a little bit of Dragon Age initially, thinking Thursday RPG. Let's stick with some Dragon Age. But to be perfectly honest, how could I ignore the fact that Legacy of Kain has just come out? Francis, you've joined us. How are you doing, dude? So, of course, we could not ignore the fact that Legacy of Kain dropped this week. One of my absolute all-time favourite, both games, narratives, pieces of media, and it's been given not the remaster treatment, not the remake treatment, the remaster treatment, and that's important for later on. However, to give you a little bit of a background on my particular relationship with Legacy of Kain, growing up as a millennial in the late mid-90s, early 2000s, I used to see Raziel particularly splattered all over different gaming websites. The gaming
Good
thing.
Man, sitting down with a whiskey, looking forward to some of the best dialogue in gaming.
Absolutely. I would say that I'm joining you with the whiskey, but no, I have Ribena. But it sort of looks like blood, and it sort of looks classy, so we're going with that. Maybe at some stage I'll do a drunk playthrough, so that'll be fun. Or maybe a Dark Souls drunk through. So, growing up very much, I was fascinated with Raziel, which, let's be fair, to a 11, 12-year-old, was the epitome of an edgelord. With the kind of emo-ish sort of hair, the fact that the scarf was up over the face, the claws, the sort of mysterious nature, that's the sort of thing that you think's really cool at 11, 12. So superficially, it drew me in. However, I did not play Soul Reaver 1 or Blood Omen 1 first. I started, and my very first introduction to the Legacy of Kain was, in fact, Soul Reaver 2. And quickly, in the first cutscene, and we will be playing Soul Reaver 2 tonight, Soul Reaver 1 is objectively, and if you want a full breakdown, Josh Strythe-Hayes has done a fantastic retrospective on the first Soul Reaver game. It is objectively the better video game, as in its mechanics tie in with its storytelling. It's very much that Ludo narrative sort of cohesion, to use big fancy scholarly words. But having said all that, to me, it very much still is a product of its time, in that Soul Reaver 1 is set up like a PS1 game. Kain's the villain. He's set up the entire time. We're trying to get to Kain, and in order to get to him, we have to go through a boss rush of Raziel and his 5 brothers. 4, because one got cut to budget reasons and shows up in a later game. But even then, going through the levels, you have to solve puzzles, traps, different sort of elaborate devices that gain a new ability or a new mechanic that you use in the boss, and ties in very much with the story that and the narrative that is building. And then, literally, once they get to the end...
Box puzzle, the game. But damn that voice acting.
Absolutely, and Josh Strythe-Hayes pointed that out, which, if there's a game that explored pushing block tiles about, it was Soul Reaver. However, a lot got cut with Soul Reaver, including the ending, which is both a blessing and a curse, because it's a curse in the sense you literally get up to Kain, and it's clear they ran out of budget, and very abruptly cut to be continued. However, the good side of that is they spun that to be continued off into Soul Reaver 2. Soul Reaver 2 kind of has done away with the boss structure. I don't think there is a single boss in Soul Reaver 2. There is still puzzles, there's still the temples and riddles and things that you need to solve, but those parts kind of feel a little bit at odds with the rest of the game, like Soul Reaver 2 suddenly jolts up awake and goes, holy shit, I'm a video game. Yeah, here's a Tomb Raider style section for you. And yes, it still tries to tell bits of the story through the murals and stuff of the ancient vampires. But that's not what makes Soul Reaver 2 great. The thing that makes Soul Reaver 2 great, which my friends just pointed out there, is the Shakespearean level dialogue. Quite frankly, I would go and see, and I think it would do quite well, if the Royal Shakespeare Company put on a rendition of Soul Reaver 2. And I think it could work, and I think it could be done. From the very opening cutscenes, the writing, the dialogue, the character interaction, as soon as Raziel walks into that boss room, well, I must say I'm disappointed in your progress. Tell me, did it trouble you to murder your brothers? Did it trouble you, Kain, when you ordered me into the abyss? Eternity is relentless, Raziel. I could go on. I've seen that cutscene countless times, and I've rehearsed it and acted it out in front of the mirror, again during my teenage years. And very much, I think Kain is probably my favourite character in all of fiction. And as an adult, I can appreciate the fact. I think it comes down to the fact he's a character that denies his own destiny, who is portrayed as the villain, and at the beginning of his arc, very much starts off fulfilling that role. Everyone says he's a villain, everyone says he's a monster, so he plays into that. But then, when he wins and goes, nah, I've had enough of that, he starts playing 4D chess. And I think Defiance, which lacked in a lot of ways, but the beginning of Defiance as well, sums up Kain's character arc. Given the choice to rule a corrupt and failing empire, or to challenge the fates for another throw, a better throw against one's destiny, what was a king to do? Brilliant. Brilliant. Every bit of dialogue, every bit of voice acting from the legendary Simon Templeman absolutely screams of the character and brings the audience up to speed. You do not need to play Soul Reaver 1, in my opinion, to enjoy Soul Reaver 2. You can watch all the cutscenes in Soul Reaver 2 back to back and have a bloody good time of it as well. The gameplay, again, it's solid. It doesn't marry and mesh the same way Soul Reaver 1 does, but I have played, again, these games back to back. So, at great danger of just gushing about Soul Reaver 2 for the next 2 hours, which I will probably be doing anyway. We probably should get to some actual gameplay. So, I will shut up for that legendary cutscene we were just talking about. We are playing the Remastered, and I will be flicking back and forth between some of the scenes and compare and contrasting on, and give you my real-time interactions of what I think of the graphics. So, preparing for Soul Reaver 2. Oh, that's the wrong controller. Just make sure my audio levels are good. Let's... There we go. We want the full experience. Kain refused the sacrifice. Oh, the nostalgia. The nostalgia. And with that, let us begin.
At last. I must say I'm disappointed in your progress. I imagined you'd be here sooner. Tell me, did it trouble you to murder your brothers?
Did it trouble you when you ordered me into the abyss?
Eternity is relentless, Raziel. When I first stole into this chamber centuries ago, I did not fathom the true power of knowledge.
Eric's Tavares. Game audio is a bit quiet, particularly the voices.
To see its path,
I shall fix that.
tracing out into the infinite. As a man, I could never contain
That better?
But each of us is so much more than we once were. Do you not feel with all your soul how we have become like gods? As
Eric's Tavares.
are we not
Thumbs up.
invisible? As long as a single one of us stands, we
Eric's
are
Tavares.
legion.
Perfect.
Our futures are predestined. Mobius foretold mine eons ago. We each play out the parts fate has written for us. Free will is an illusion.
I found the tomb of Sarafan, Kain. How could you profane a priest by turning him into a vampire?
How could I not? One must keep his friends close, Raziel, and his enemies even closer. Who better to serve me than those
Did they
who
just change that bit? Didn't he teleport in the original?
notions of good and evil?
The Sarafan were saviors, defending Nazgul from the corruption that we represent. My eyes are open, Kain. I find no nobility in the unlife you rudely forced on my unwilling corpse.
You may have uncovered your past, but you know nothing of it. You think the
Eric's
Sarafan
Tavares.
were noble,
Teleports in the State Route 1 boss fight, not the scene.
Right. I need to go back and watch the original cutscene again.
Their agenda was
I'm
the same
sure
as
it looked like they edited that bit, which is an odd choice.
You nearly had me, Raziel. But this is not where or how it ends. Fate promises more twists before this drama unfolds completely.
Milo wants to join the stream.
Raziel, Redeemer and Destroyer, Pawn and Messiah. Welcome, time-span soul. Welcome to your destiny. Where am I? Is the usual question. In your case, when might be more apt.
I do love
Very well, you old snake.
Raziel's new look.
If you'd prefer, I use
Not
my
sure about
bare
Mobius though.
hands. Well, this is completely unexpected. This orb disables our vampire enemies, leaving them helpless and incapacitated. Strangely, it seems to have the same effect on that peculiar weapon of yours. But you must
I
believe
feel
me. I
the
mean
old
you
one had a
no
bit more
harm.
character to his face.
You can drop the benevolent facade, Mobius. I know who and what you are. I should kill you where you stand.
Perhaps you should, my boy. But you don't.
Are you so certain of that, Mobius?
My role as Time Guardian affords me a certain level of omniscience, Raziel. No, you don't kill me. That honor belongs to your maker, Kain, some 30 years from now.
You two are a pair. You're just as fatalistic as he is.
Death comes for us all, Raziel. It's just a matter of time.
How is it that you know my name? We have never met.
On the contrary, Raziel, I know you very well. And it grieves me to see how cruelly Kain has used you. I knew you when you were one of the Sarafan Brotherhood, Raziel. We were even close.
Oh, please.
I also love how
Fortunately,
they're clearly
you need
gliding
not
there.
love me
They didn't
now
animate
to
the
be my
legs.
ally.
Are we within the stronghold of the Sarafan priesthood?
Yes, but the glorious days of the Sarafan have long since passed, I'm afraid. This is a more cynical and indecorous age. My mercenary army now inhabits this stronghold. We strive to honor the memory of the Sarafan with our own humble crusade.
Is this the vampire Vorador?
Yes, the scourge of the Circle, the most depraved and decadent example of his whole degenerate race. He slaughtered 6 of my fellow Guardians as they cowered defenseless in this room.
And you somehow survived this massacre?
I and 2 others. The Circle was devastated. Only we 3 were spared.
How convenient. You'll forgive me if I don't naively devour every scrap of information you toss me. You have a reputation for deceit.
And who has slandered me, sir? Your malefactor, Kain? The one who betrayed and destroyed you? Our common enemy?
The cataracts is good.
Consider the source before you judge me too harshly. We'll forget about rekindling our old friendship then. But consider an alliance based on our common ground. We both want Kain dead. I can help you do it.
You don't want to meddle in this, old man. I know all about your sordid little schemes, but you're simply out of your depth on this one.
You underestimate me, Raziel. Let me show you. Even now, Kain is lying in wait for you, unaware that I've snatched you out of the time stream and brought you here to me. See how he lingers at the very pillars he is destined to destroy, foolishly confident that he has eluded your grasp.
The pillars are still standing in this time.
Yes, Raziel. They are the embodiment of the divine force which preserves the life of our world. We who serve the pillars maintain their delicate balance, and Kain is destined to be the fulcrum upon which that balance turns. I believe you have already endured the wasteland wrought by his terrible, selfish decision. Kain's very existence is a cancer upon this world. As long as he lives, all of Nosgoth is in peril. You may never again be human, Raziel. But you can re-embrace the essence of your humanity and the nobility of your Sarafan heritage. Go to him, Raziel, and end this. But first, you will need to find your way out of the stronghold, and in this, I'm afraid I cannot help you. My soldiers will not understand your appearance here. They will try to kill you. You needn't fear them, of course. They're no match for you. Try to keep the casualties to a minimum. But do what you
have to do.
All
great movements require a few martyrs.
Alone now, I surveyed my surroundings and noticed a second time-streaming chamber. Its entrance identical to the first, but with one distinction. That crystal was significant, but how? I had not yet discovered.
Absolutely legendary dialogue there, and then just at the end. Oh. Okay, I'll turn down the game volume a little bit. Just there. Yeah. Oh, actually, perhaps on the headphones, that's maybe the way forward. There we go, that's a bit better. Cool. So yes, absolutely love everything about that. It gets you right up to speed on everything in Soul Reaver 1. It hints at the relationship between Raziel and Kain, but also that of Kain and Mobius, and now Raziel and Mobius. Absolutely great stuff. Also, we're in this chamber which plays very heavily into the story of Blood Omen 1, and the vampire Vorador, who we will meet a little bit later on. I also love how they've added the button that lets us flick between the old and the new style graphics. So they've not really changed. This is a bit of a walking tour for me. So they've updated the texture there, but they've kept the actual images of Vorador pretty much intact. Okay. I can dig it. I can dig it. Now, personally, Soul Reaver 1 absolutely did need a graphical overhaul. Soul Reaver 2, on the other hand, I feel the old graphics were much more expressive, but this is me talking with inch-thick nostalgia goggles on. That kind of old-style facial animation that was just slightly cartoonish, I think, reads so much better than the new kind of reworking of that, but that's just me. Having said all that, I always thought that the Soul Reaver 2 character model of Raziel looked a little bit like a blue Michael Jackson. I don't know, is that just me? I think it's the hair and the slightly kind of boxy face. But I do like the new kind of reworking of that. The big thing that will be the Determinator is... Determinator? Is that a word? The Determiner is when we get to Kain.
Eric's Tavares. Not just you. He.
Good, I'm glad I'm not in the minority there. There we go. Right, first thing we do is we need to go pick up a weapon. Thank you very much. So, okay. Hey, there we go. Hi there. Bonk. Rude, sir. The combat does feel a little bit different from the original. There we go. I always like the sword. And my Jedi mind powers. Yoink. Right, bumper. Okay. Trying to do this dodge. Ah, right, okay, you need to do that as well. Alright. Haha! Yield to my giant butter knife. Tasty. So I can see why people with the Silent Hill remake thought that the old style graphics added much more kind of atmosphere. And that's very much how I feel about Soul Reaver 2. Personally, I like the Silent Hill 2 remake. And I did like the kind of graphical overhaul. Although if there's one thing that particular... Oh, okay. Someone's very eager to get with me. He's clipping through the door. That's new. Hello. Don't mind me. Just walk straight past. So again, combat was never the strong focus of the Soul Reaver games. It was functional. It did its job.
Throughout the stronghold, I discovered evidence of my former nobility and my life as a Sarafan priest. This was the heritage so foully stolen from me when Kain raided my sacred crypt and defiled me.
So I've watched many kind of retrospectives of the Soul Reaver and the Legacy of Kain timeline in general. And from my understanding, there is 3 different timelines. There's the original timeline in Blood Omen up until Kain fights William the Conqueror. There's the timeline after that, which I believe this is the one that we're in just now, hence all the dead vampires all over the place. Excuse me, snack time. How courteous, he actually waited. And then there's the third timeline created at the end of Soul Reaver, spoiler alert. And that's the one that Blood Omen 2 takes place in. Which I still feel, I actually love Blood Omen 2, it's considered the black sheep of the family. From a visual style perspective, I absolutely love it. And I think it originally started life as a different game, before being retroactively made into Blood Omen. And it was very much about the rise of Kain's empire. But because it was developed by a different team in a different silo while they were developing Soul Reaver 2, the main team, Blood Omen, it featured a completely new cast of vampire lieutenants that served as the boss rush that he would go and hunt. Have I just been turned around? I have been, haven't I? Well, that's embarrassing. I believe the vampire Uma from Blood Omen 2 was originally meant to show up in Defiance, but as it stands, a lot of those characters, I know what I need to do. Yes, yes. Silly me, it has been a while. Thank you. And shift. Another little great design choice I love is Raziel starts off at full power at the beginning of Soul Reaver 2 with all the upgrades and abilities that you got in Soul Reaver 1. So it makes sense.
Away from the influence of Mobius's cursed staff, I could feel the strength of the Soul Reaver slowly returning. If that
Let me know the
orb was
audio
as
levels are
debilitating
alright.
to vampires as it was to the blade, it gave Mobius a powerful advantage over his enemies. I finally understood how Mobius's crusade could decimate the vampires so successfully. If he could immobilize his enemies, they were at his mercy. But why, I wondered, would the staff have any effect on the Reaver?
There we go. Yeah, so in Soul Reaver 1, the Reaver appeared when you got to full health. Ow! Again, rude. I do feel they've changed the combat slightly. There we go, put them back.
Uma was originally supposed to turn up in Defiance, plus there was originally going to be a scene that had the Soul Reaver blade return to Avernus, plus also explaining an NPC being revived that was in BO2.
Yeah, I remember that. There was a YouTube lore channel, I think Strictly Fantasy, that did that breakdown. But because, and again, I loved what they did do with, again, spoiler for Defiance, I think it was probably the most epic moment of that game, where it turns out that Janos Ordrin's heart was what was used to make Kain, because Kain wasn't turned by another vampire, he was raised by the Necromancer Mortanius. And I love that. I absolutely loved that. I remember audibly gasping whenever when I saw that scene for the first time. And then the line where Kain shows up later on and just goes, "Well, I always was considered heartless." And I was just like, boom, that's right up there with Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, in terms of like the best one-liners in media history. Right, second big major cutscene of Soul Reaver. I'll shut up.
Eric's Tavares. Audio volumes are fine, by the way, and I believe they did tweak the combat for the remasters.
As reality itself appeared to warp and bend around me. The disturbance seemed to emanate from the sanctuary's furthest chapel.
As I cautiously approached, the sense of dislocation intensified with each step. So this was the tomb of the beloved King William the Just, beatified here as the martyr and catalyst of Mobius's crusade. I was reminded of Kain's journey as a fledgling vampire, how Mobius coerced him to travel back in history and assassinate William, thus igniting a genocidal hatred of vampires among the citizens of Nosgoth. And here I discovered the source of the displacement. The Soul Reaver itself, laid out like a holy relic, and broken, apparently in the battle between William and Kain. I had not thought such a thing was possible, until, of course, Kain shattered the blade against me when he tried to strike me down. Thus, the captive spirit inhabiting the Reaver was released, and binding itself to me, became my symbiotic weapon. And so the Reaver met its former self, still imprisoned in this corporeal shell. I watched, mesmerized, as the Wraith blade uncoiled itself and snaked down the length of the physical blade, embracing its twin, its mirror
I do like the
self.
new Reaver
The
model.
Reaver's long dormant spirit was now fully aroused, and for the first time, I felt the true presence of this other entity, willful, ravenous, and deranged from thousands of years of imprisonment. The Reaver was now in command, and I, now merely its helpless host, felt my soul being leeched to restore the blade.
That's a
The
lot smoother
Reaver
than
knew
the
better
original.
than to destroy its host, and just as I neared the brink of oblivion, the blade released its hold on me. As I recovered, I realized we were now bound together in a fragile alliance. The Reaver no longer merely my symbiotic weapon, but a sentient parasite competing for control.
What have you done to me, Mobius? Is this your trap?
How mine? Don't forget it was Kain who led you here, not I. While you curse me, the only soul in Nosgoth ready to guide and assist
Mobius
you,
has really
Kain
big
laughs
hands.
at our folly and revels in your
I think it
dismay.
works more with the original,
Coiled in sinister embrace,
but looks a bit
inspired
off
terror
in the
hearts of
remake.
creatures far more durable than you, old man. Bound together as they are, I can only imagine what they could do to your soul's fragile shell.
Raziel, I beg you to stay your hand. This was none of my doing. I have sought only to aid you in your righteous quest.
Why, you're trembling, Mobius. Has your confidence abandoned you? You seem to have made a fatal error by leaving your precious staff behind. Is that where all your courage comes from?
Listen to me, Raziel. You don't know what you're doing. I have taken an enormous risk by appearing here before you, so defenseless, yet eager to prove my good intentions. If there's anything left of the Seraphim in you, you won't do this. While you threaten me, your true enemy eludes you.
Don't concern yourself with Kain, man. He'll join you in hell soon enough. As you said, death comes for us all.
Yes, the wheel of fate demands it.
What did you say?
The wheel of fate. The inexorable cycle of death and rebirth to which all men are compelled. We serve the same God, Raziel. To strike me down would be striking God's own attendant. And I don't believe even you would take that risk.
I tire of your games, Mobius. Now that I know you fear me, I needn't concern myself with you. Kain is waiting for me.
Go then, Raziel. Seek Kain out and destroy him in the name of the one God we both serve. You, who were once a Seraphim priest, murdered, profaned, destroyed, and reborn again from his mercy. You are now most powerfully equipped to be his agent, his instrument of restoration and retribution.
My own vengeance is motivation enough.
By my soul, you almost had me, my little blue assassin. But that'll be the one and only chance you get. I assure you of that.
I could now summon the blade at will, regardless of my strength. But once summoned, the blade's ravenous appetite could not be contained. It devoured the souls of its victims, and if I allowed it to become over-aroused, the Reaver would now turn its hunger on me.
Let that be a lesson, kids. Don't overplay with your Reaver. If it gets too aroused, it'll take over.
So this was the legendary Janos Ordrin, reputed to have been the most ancient and diabolical vampire to have ever existed. According to folklore, he lived high in the cliffs of Nosgoth's northern mountains and preyed mercilessly on the defenseless villagers below. His reign of terror ended when the Sarafan finally hunted him down and tore his throbbing heart from his still-living body. This relic came to be known as the Heart of Darkness, and was supposedly imbued with the power to restore vampiric unlife. The Sarafan therefore guarded it carefully, lest the heart fall into the hands of their enemies. But I wondered, could Janos Ordrin truly have been as monstrous as depicted here? Or was this merely artistic license by the Sarafan, who sought to lionize themselves by demonizing their darkest enemy?
Foreshadowing! Again, this is a spoiler-heavy stream, so I'm just going to talk about Defiance and the fact that the heart turns out to be the thing that turns Kain into a vampire in the first place. But I love how when Silicon Knights developed Blood Omen, that wasn't a thing that they had planned out. That was, again, the legendary Amy Hennig coming in and being able to take the narrative from Blood Omen. Again, the whole thing with William and changing history that we were just talking about. Also, I have gone back and tested and can say for 100% certainty, in fact, you can kill William not using the Reaver.
Erix Tavares. I mean, we've all gotten a bit carried away with our Reavers. It's a perfectly natural part of growing up.
Absolutely, especially when you're in your teenage years. Mine's bigger than yours.
Erix Tavares. No comment.
Strange how my history came full circle. This chapel, I realized, was a memorial to my former Sarafan brethren and myself. All of us martyred here. And then so cruelly profaned
I love how there's
by
one guard
Kain
just hiding
when he
behind that pillar.
imposed his gift on our noble corpses. For the first time, I beheld the image of my Sarafan self, memorialized here among my fallen comrades. Tortured me to see how noble and pure I had been.
I feel they could have done more to
Vile
update that
phantasm I
statue.
had become, and a profound sense of injury, of loss and betrayal welled up in me, so overwhelming I could barely contain it. All I wanted at this moment was to find Kain and destroy him.
I love how they Batman in. No, snack tank. Right. I thought I saw one hiding. behind one of these pillars, but never mind. Yeah, they've not updated any of the 2D art by the looks of things. That's... what's that? That's Juma. I also love how they kept throughout the Legacy of Kain series, they kept the demon designs the same. Oh, have I been turned around again? I think I have. Yeah, I have. So that bit with Mobius, whenever Raziel and... oh, quick thing. Obviously, time loops are a major thing in Legacy of Kain, and this room, the Ouroboros, the constant repeating time cycle. But I love that if you shift, it shows a part that breaks off. And that's major foreshadowing for later. Right. Do I have to be full? I must be full health to come back. Thank you. Do I need to be in spirit form for this bit, or? Okay, that's how you get up here. Although I need to be back in the corporeal world. There we go. I love how in Defiance, again, they work it into the story that Raziel can no longer use the portals to come back to the material world, so he basically just has to hijack corpses and alien chest burst his way out of them. It doesn't make much sense when you think about it, but it is cool. But yes, in terms of like the constant repeating timelines, like I said, there's 3 established timelines in the Legacy of Kain games. I've missed my turning again, haven't I? There we go. That's what I'm looking for. I would like to see a timeline where, when Raziel had the Reaper there with Mobius, decides to just fucking kill him. Because that would have major story ramifications.
I emerged, and for the first time beheld Nosgoth in its former glory. The land overflowed with abundant life and vitality, and I knew with certainty then that the world I had left behind was nothing more than the corpse of Nosgoth, a lifeless husk bled dry by the corruption of Kain's parasitic empire. This was the fragile world Kain sacrificed to preserve his own petty life and ambition, heedless of the profound cost. The sight only deepened my resolve. I sensed that the pillars lay to the northwest, and if Kain truly waited to confront me there, I would not disappoint him.
So I think the only thing they've changed, by the looks of things, is really the trees and some of the textures. Although I heard that they added a... It would have been Soul Reaver 1 they added the skybox in. Right. Okay, so the controls are inverted when you jump into the water. Good to know. See those weirdos who play with inverted controls.
As I passed this arcane landmark, a wisp of the Reaver's energy was drawn into the ring, illuminating it. This created a beacon of sorts in the spirit world. If ever I found myself depleted in the spectral realm, and my soul tossed on the ethereal winds, These beacons would draw me back to safety and restore me.
A little bit of good narrative justification there for the fact that you cannot game over in Soul Reaver 2. If you die in the Spectral Realm, again in the story, Raziel's soul just gets pushed back to one of those beacons. And you heal up in the Spectral Realm while simultaneously depleting your health in the normal realm. It was Soul Reaver 1 before you fight Rahab that Raziel and, well, if you ever play as Kain in the Blood Omen games, vampires are water soluble. Okay. I don't want to be staring at Raziel's ass, thank you very much. Yeah, underwater controls are a bit jank. Where am I going? This way? I cannot see. Not any better. Is it this way? I've totally lost track of where I'm going, and the camera's not helping. It looks like it should be that one. There we go. So obviously all the elemental Reaver upgrades that you get throughout Soul Reaver 2, I believe they were meant to be in Soul Reaver 1.
These ancient obelisks were mysteriously attuned to my spiritual essence. By simply touching the symbol, I could safely preserve an imprint of my soul, and thus create a milestone to which I could return when weary, and from which I could resume my journey.
In other words, we've unlocked the save game feature. Subtle, Soul Reaver, subtle. But yeah, when I was a kid, I absolutely binged Soul Reaver 2. I think it took me less than 48 hours to complete.
Infiltrating the fortress, however, would be no small feat. The balcony that had provided my escape was now well beyond my reach, leaving this massive gateway as the only means of entry. The gates were sealed, but like the time-streaming chamber I had seen earlier, their operation was undoubtedly linked to that odd crystal mounted above the entrance.
Again, I love the foreshadowing. It does. But yeah, I remember discussing Soul Reaver in my old techie class. And one of the other guys I used to hang around with got really frustrated at Soul Reaver 2, saying that the puzzles were actually just too hard. And I think it took him... He'd been playing it for about 2 months and still hadn't beaten the game. I definitely think out of the two of them, Soul Reaver 1 is definitely the harder game. Haha, she just evaporated. I don't remember the blunderbuss in Soul Reaver 2. Is that a thing? Am I just misremembering that? I presume if it's in the remaster, it would have been in the original. We don't seem to have changed overly that much. Nice, comically oversized butter knife again. So yeah, in Soul Reaver 1, because you were fighting vampires and there was very in-law reasons for vampires to just keep getting up again, you had, once you killed them, you had to dispose of them in water. Like I said, vampires were water soluble, or throw them into fire, or impale them, or that sort of thing. Humans, on the other hand, a lot more squishy. Seems a design flaw, if you ask me. Did you see that absolutely epic Neo Matrix dodge there? Okay, so they haven't. They've updated the birds, but not the bridge. Okay. Okay, I do remember the dogs. I feel like that should be important for something, but I can't remember that playing a role at any point.
Over there. Taste my blade, vampire.
Now at this point, Raziel is a wraith. I'm wondering what vampires... Well, I suppose he is reminiscent of the ancient vampires. Okay, now that I think about it, I'll let that one pass. So, in moment-to-moment gameplay, and this is what I mean about Soul Reaver 2 being the weaker video game, it really is just running along linear corridors until you get to one of the puzzle box dungeons.
These vampires had nothing in common with the deranged jackals I left behind in Kain's derelict empire. They seem to retain much of their former humanity. In this era, vampires were clearly not the uncontested predators we had been. These creatures were hunted mercilessly and oppressed. And while I still believed that vampirism was a plague and had to be wiped out, there was nothing noble or righteous in this crusade. This was simply ruthless persecution.
I would have liked to have seen more of the pre-Kain, pre-William vampire society in Moscow. That would be cool. So yeah, after Defiance, the next game was meant to be Legacy of Kain Dark Sun, featuring a brand new character. And I don't think Kain featured at all, really, in Dark Sun. Now, at first I was like, how can you have a Legacy of Kain game without either Kain or Raziel? That's sacrilege, surely. The Legacy of Kain, it bears his name, for God's sake. But I remember seeing test footage of it. I'm just going to pause before we trigger the next epic cutscene. Thinking back on it, I would have loved to see what they would have done with the new character who inherits the mantle of and becomes a wraith like Raziel and actually becomes the new Soul Reaver. and where they were going to go with that. And at some point, they would have to tie it back in with Kain. So, as much as I loved the intro sequence with Kain, Raziel, that boss fight at the end of Soul Reaver 1 / beginning of Soul Reaver 2, this is probably my second, if not tied for first place, favourite cutscene. And this is the real test of the game for me. How does the new in-game model of Kain hold up? Let's find out. Oh, do I have to... I have to hold... Wait, hold on. Is there a lever? Yes, there is. There we go. I knew that.
The pillars of Nosgoth. Pristine.
Eric's Tavares. Best scene coming up.
I had never beheld them in this
100%.
undefiled state. Yet something profound and indelible resonated within me at the sight. And there, waiting at the very heart of the pillars, was the canker that was destined to destroy them.
I know you're there, Raziel.
Mobius led me to you, Kain, though I might have guessed you'd meet me here.
And if Mobius told you I was hidden on the underside of hell, would you throw yourself into oblivion to pursue me? Mobius trawls for the ignorant and unwary, hauling his gasping prey from the streams of their destinies. Stay out of his net, Raziel.
Spare me your elaborate
still prefer the
metaphors,
original.
Kain. I have pursued you here for one purpose. You will pay for your betrayal, and balance will thus be restored to Nosgoth.
And whose will is satisfied then? The will of Raziel or Mobius?
Would I be better manipulated by you, Kain? Now, turn and face me. The chase is over.
This isn't a chase, Raziel. We are merely passengers on the wheel of destiny, describing a perfect circle to this point. We've been brought here for a reason. I've seen the beginning and the end of our story, however, and the tale is crude and ill-conceived. We must rewrite the ending of it. You and I.
Face me, Kain. Even you shouldn't die a coward's death.
Isn't it customary to grant the condemned a final request?
I recall no such courtesy from you.
Indulge me, Raziel. All I ask is that you listen. This is the sublime moment of our undoing, Raziel. The ineffable fulcrum upon which swings the entirety of our history. This is where all of Nosgoth is betrayed. In this instant, Ariel, the Balance Guardian, is murdered by dark forces bent on overthrowing the pillars. Her spirit is just now tearing free, lost in the ether, trying to find its way here. You have already seen how she comes to haunt these pillars.
Bound here by your refusal to die. You are the reason this land becomes diseased. As long as you remain alive, you condemn Nosgoth to an eternity of decay.
Be still, Raziel. See this. As Ariel dies, I am being born to take her place as Balance Guardian. Such is my destiny.
My God.
At the moment of my first cry, Ariel's beloved, the Guardian Nupraptor, finds her corpse. Racked with grief and tormented by suspicions of treachery, Nupraptor plunges into a madness which overflows and infects all of the Guardians who are symbiotically bound, including me. The repercussions of Ariel's assassination were expertly calculated. The entire circle descends into madness, and I am tainted at the moment of my birth, instantly rendered incapable of fulfilling the role destiny has prepared for me.
Shall I show you the same mercy you showed the rest of the circle, then? You blithely murdered them to restore their pillars, yet your hand faltered when it came to the final sacrifice. What makes you exempt, Kain? You're merely the last man standing. Why condemn me for simply carrying out what you hadn't the courage to do yourself?
Let's drop the moral posturing, shall we? We both know there's no altruism in this pursuit. Your reckless indignation led you here. I counted on it. There's no shame in it, Raziel. Revenge is motivation enough. At least it's honest.
I'm all about the reckless indignation.
Do it honestly. 30 years hence, I am presented with a dilemma. Let's call it a two-sided coin. If the coin falls one way, I sacrifice myself and thus restore the pillars. But as the last surviving vampire in Nosgoth, this would mean the annihilation of our species. Mobius made sure of that. If the coin lands on the reverse, I refuse the sacrifice and thus doom the pillars to an eternity of collapse. Either way, the game is rigged.
We agree then that the pillars are crucial and must be restored.
Yes, Raziel. And that's why we've come full circle to this place.
So after all this, you make my case for me. To end this stalemate, you must die so that new guardians can be born.
Pillars don't belong to them, Raziel. They belong to us.
Your arrogance is boundless, Kain.
There's a third option. A monumental secret hidden in your very presence here. But it's a secret you have to discover for yourself. Unearth your destiny, Raziel. It's all laid out for you here.
You said it yourself, Kain. There are only two sides to your coin.
Apparently, sir. But suppose you throw a coin enough times. Suppose one day it lands on its edge.
Again, masterful. And to keep this kind of in context, if you played through Soul Reaver 1 first, Kain's obviously the big boss at the end. You do sort of fight him in a gimmicky boss fight towards the end, but he does blue ball you by going "to be continued, Raziel," and buggers off through the time chamber. So this would have been the big combination of the big major boss fight with Kain, and Soul Reaver 2 goes, "Nah, not doing it. No, we're going to have an existential philosophical discussion," and then Kain just buggers off, and Raziel's like, "Okay," and that's the complete shift in focus from Soul Reaver 2, and that's a nice touch. I love that. I feel like I could use one of them. But yeah, Soul Reaver 2 is not about the boss fights, it's not about the combat, it's about telling you a story and having those epic dialogue moments. And again, Kain's character, he plays the villains so perfectly, but that line, and I didn't mean to talk over it, but that's my favourite line from that scene when he goes to Raziel, "Hate me, but do it honestly." Both Kain and Raziel are all about their self-determination, and that's what makes them so compelling as characters.
I didn't know what impulse stayed my hand, why I had so willingly allowed Kain to escape me when I had pursued him for so long. I had no reason to trust Kain after he had valued me so little, and yet I found myself intrigued by his words. I had been too cruelly used to so gullibly play his pawn, but if this world truly had secrets to divulge, I was determined to expose them.
Now, like I said, I played Soul Reaver 2 first, so right up until this point, we've basically been filled in with all the backstory of Blood Omen 1 and Soul Reaver. We are pretty much up to speed. And again, I love this kind of little environmental sort of storytelling. Shift into the spectral realm, boom. But the initial setup for why Kain threw Raziel into the abyss was Raziel spawned his wings and Kain was jealous. We're told this this is what Raziel's brothers tell him, and this is what Raziel believes to be the case. Kain
Alex
never says
Tavares.
that.
Gotta go, man. But this has been great. Good episode of Halfwits today, by the way.
Amazing. Cheers, dude. And yeah, if you're about next week, we'll catch you then. I think Billy might be joining us on next week's stream, so that'll be fun. But have a good one. I'll continue to do my commentary as we go on. Nom nom nom. So yeah, so Raziel was the first to spawn wings and therefore evolve past Kain. Yet Kain never changes after that, and all his brothers continue to evolve. And I love how no one questioned
From the
that.
moment of my arrival, I had the constant and palpable sensation of being watched. Someone, it seemed, was keenly interested in my presence here.
I wonder who that could be.
From the look of it, this door had been sealed for centuries. I began to realize it was no mere coincidence that I found myself standing here, beneath this winged figure with blue skin and cloven hands so like my own, and bearing this unique key.
Again, foreshadowing.
And so it was with a sense of gravity and trepidation that I unsealed that ancient door and crossed the threshold.
I forgot about these shadow monsters. Reaver. I do feel the camera hugs Raziel a little bit too closely. Ow, 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 ow. That's why you don't play with the Reaver too much. Someone shouting on us. Can I hear them?
As I entered the chamber, I sensed that it had been sealed for hundreds, perhaps thousands of years. And while this room was clearly built when the pillars were erected, I knew that no human hand could have shaped this place, and that perhaps it had never been seen by human eyes. The surrounding murals depicted a winged race, their features so like my own, but beautiful, where mine were grotesque, and angelic, while mine were demonic. I tried to decipher these images. A great war, but with combatants like none I had ever seen. The pillars, raised by this winged race, who thus defeated their adversaries. The winged beings again, writhing in agony, apparently afflicted with the same bloodthirst I had so recently suffered. And throughout the chamber, inscribed everywhere, images of the Reaver itself. Was this what Kain had urged me to discover? I wondered.
Lies, Raziel.
The amazing Toady J. The legend.
Do not be deceived.
Ah, my ancient benefactor. and I dared to hope we had parted ways forever. The silence was refreshing, but it lasted. No doubt you have a conveniently inexpressible reason for your presence here.
Do not be insolent, Raziel. I am eternally present, here and everywhere, now and always. I am the still center of the turning wheel, the hub of this world's destiny.
But perhaps not so omnipotent as you'd have me believe. Your hold on me appears to be tenuous. I no longer seem to need you. Yet I'm guessing you still need me.
This impudence is unworthy of you, Raziel. Do not forget that you have a task to fulfill here. You are indebted to me.
Indebted? You would have me show gratitude for a gift I didn't ask to be bestowed. Do you forget that you forced me to inhabit this vile carcass?
I restored you to yourself, Raziel. It was Kain who destroyed you. The very enemy you've just let slip through your grasp. Do not fail me, my servant.
I serve no one. Not you, not Kain, and not your lackey Mobius.
Mobius is my good servant. I have many.
And if I tell Mobius that he's worshipping a giant squid, do you think his faith will falter?
You have grown willful, Raziel. But beware. To embrace a serpent is to invite poison into your heart. Kain is a sinuous beast. He will seduce and deceive you. You pride yourself on your free will, yet you let that degenerate deter your resolve.
I harbor no illusions about his integrity, nor anyone else's. In fact, I am beset by manipulation on all sides. Only seek the truth.
These are the fathomless truths, Raziel. The agony of birth and death and rebirth. This is the wheel of fate, the purifying cycle which sustains all life. Vampires are an abomination, a plague which leeches this land of its spiritual strength. They obstruct the flow of life and death. Their souls stagnate in their wretched corpses. But the wheel must turn. Death is inexorable and cannot be denied. Your destiny is irresistible, Raziel. You are my soul reaver, the scourge of the vampires, reaper of their apostate souls. Remain steadfast, end the vampires' parasitic curse, and restore Nosgoth. Kain's blood belongs on your hands.
Kain indeed deserves to die for condemning me to this repugnant form. But if and when I kill him, it will be for me alone to decide.
Kain destroyed you without a flicker of remorse. He tore the soul from your noble corpse, and after you had served him faithfully for 1,000 years, he discarded you in the abyss on a jealous whim. Remember your rage, Raziel. Let it guide your hand.
Again, another fantastic character scene. The Elder God, played by Tony J, being very much the mentor, traditional mentor character for Raziel in Soul Reaver 1. There was always a hint of antagonism between them. He was clearly not altruistic, but this cutscene is the moment the relationship turns, when Raziel is free of him. Okay. Really not liking these underwater sections, I have to say. And there's so many great periods in the Legacy of Kain series that they could set a new game. That I'd love to see Kain's Empire when Raziel and his brothers were in charge. What did that look like? I know we got that questionable multiplayer game set during that time, but how both Vampire Society worked before Kain and during his empire. On an RPG perspective, as a writing project, I really wanted using the established lore and canon of Vampire the Masquerade. I just finished playing Vampire the Masquerade Bloodline. Maybe another contender for stream at some stage. Where do we need to go? Where do we need to go? Spectral Realm, does that help? I keep expecting a slightly more fluid, modern Dark Souls kind of combat system with parries and blocks and all that kind of good stuff. Come on, come on, come on. Thank you. Yes, I'll get to you in a minute. Ah, there we go. That's what we're missing. So, if you played Soul Reaver 1, you would know that these walls serve as scalable surfaces. You unlock them after the second boss. Right. Then we don't swim while in water. Or don't swim while in the spirit world. Up we go. Yeah, going back, this bit feels a bit dated. Ooh, shadows are nice. I'll give them that. Oh, was that the right way? Was that the right way? It has been a while. I don't remember this bit. I could be wrong. Like I said, I just remember the epic cutscenes. Again, I really hope I'm not going backwards. Is there a way back? I really don't want to have to go all the way back to that. Point over there. You do a lot of backtracking in Soul Reaver 2 because it's set over different time periods, so we will revisit this place again. Right, so okay, I figured out how to swim. That's considerably less painful. Visibility's still shit. I feel there should be a way. No way up. Oh, there we go. Hey. That feels like progress. So what's throwing me off a little bit is I'm expecting the camera to be, while underwater, bound to the right analog stick, and it seems to be being controlled by the left. It's a bit off-putting.
I surfaced into a very different landscape. The daylight barely penetrated the dense canopy of this forest. Here I discovered an ancient ruin, unmistakably one of Mobius's time-streaming chambers, but long ago sealed and abandoned to the encroaching swamp. I didn't currently possess the means to break this seal, but I thought in time that I might.
So another fantastic character coming up, who's not in the original Soul Reaver, but is in the original Blood Omen, Vorador. I believe he's in all other Soul Reaver games, and Blood Omen games for all that. He sort of serves as Kain's vampire mentor. There he is. Okay, I like his character model.
So, my lurking observer was exposed. The creature vanished when he realized he was discovered, but I caught a glimpse of him, and his features were distinctive enough. This was the vampire Vorador, the monstrous assassin depicted in the stronghold. Strange that a creature brazen enough to assault the circle single-handedly would avoid confronting me. Very well. If Vorador would not come to me, I would go to him.
But first, I needed to find some means of reaching that terrace.
Can't be bothered with you. Another save point. That was another feature of old 2000 video games. Whenever they did a sequel or another game in a franchise and added these ancient relics that served as gameplay functions like the save points or whatever. And obviously you revisit this forest in Blood Omen and then again in Defiance. It always struck me as slightly odd that these structures they seem to be of ancient origin but only ever appeared in certain games. It would be nice to call back to them.
There appeared to be a passage.
I love how that guy was just chilling.
leading
I feel like that
northward
wasn't
into the
meant to play out that way.
The opening, however, was obstructed and too high for me
Don't
to
mind
reach.
me.
Perhaps later I would find the means to bypass these obstacles.
So there's no experience system or upgrades that you spend souls on or anything. You upgrade Raziel by completing puzzles and when the story dictates that Raziel gets stronger. So there's very little reason to fight when you don't have to. So running past them
My
is
lurking
totally fine.
friend was nowhere to be seen, but I found these ruins even more intriguing. I recognized these arcane symbols from the chamber beneath the pillars, and realized that this shrine too was sealed to all but the bearer of the Reaver.
And I feel this was another reason why they changed the mechanic for the Soul Reaver in Soul Reaver 2, rather than the Reaver just materializing at full health. Because the Reaver features so heavily in a lot of these Reaver upgrade puzzles, you need to be able to summon it at will. And you'll sense the shift now. Right up to this point, it's been very dialogue heavy. A lot of character interaction, great stuff. Now, it remembers it's a video game. So this is the first puzzle box dungeon. Get my health up. Sometimes it's worth clearing the room just so you're not harassed, so you can get a sense of respawn checkpoint. I feel we need to continue this in the material world? Yes, we do. So there's a climbable wall. So step 1. Return to the world of living. Although as I said at the beginning of the stream, I genuinely do think Soul Reaver 2 could be adapted into a non-interactive medium and lose nothing. Soul Reaver 1, not so much, because the mechanics are tied to the story a lot better.
Throughout this ancient shrine, murals depicted the winged race, the apocalyptic war against their mysterious and equally inhuman adversaries. These winged beings, it seemed, were not only the architects of the pillars, but of this enigmatic place as well. And just as in the pillar's chamber, this shrine was adorned throughout with imagery of the Reaver, depicted with the reverence of a holy icon.
Yeah. Now they try and weave some of the story into the dungeons, but this is very much tell, don't show. Raziel looking at the murals and deciphering it for you. If you were doing this for TV or a stage play, you wouldn't have a one-to-one faithful adaptation of Raziel jumping along, solving Tomb Raider style puzzles for half an hour to an hour. I feel you would have a point of view ancient vampire character, and you would flash back and tell those stories from their perspective, and then cut back to Raziel looking at the mural. That's how I would do it anyway. Another big difference between Soul Reaver 1 and 2. There was obviously a lot of cut content in Soul Reaver 1. And a lot, like the magic system and things like that. And the world's surprisingly open. And there's loads of secret areas and loads of secret mechanics that you can engage in. Again, Soul Reaver 2, not so much. Right, so that obviously goes that way. There's obviously one there as well. Okay, that's on a tight. Oh wait, no. Alright. Boop. So the classic Soul Reaver conundrum. I'm where I need to be, but I'm in the wrong dimension. Story of my life. Well, I always thought these things looked like Kermit the Frog's junky cousin. Ew. No. And back again. Don't mind me. I believe there's a reason for it to face anywhere else. So it was originally facing that way. It's obviously over there we're trying to get to. That's a nice little throwback to devouring the souls of the vampires and then they just dissolve once you consume them. Now, as a kid, none of these puzzles stumped me. I breezed through Soul Reaver. Ah, right. That's... can't do anything there. I need to shoot that later on. Possibly because I'm on stream and I have literally 4 lights glaring in my face. Maybe that's why I'm struggling a little bit to see. Okay, that was a new... So the map's new. You didn't have the map originally. I feel you don't really need it for Soul Reaver 2. Certainly for Blood Omen and Soul Reaver that were so open, a map would have been awesome. It's been a while since I've played Defiance. I seem to remember Defiance being a lot linear, and Blood Omen 2 was level based, so very linear. Part of me really hopes someday they do a full remake of the Legacy of Kain series. But the problem is, the actors are getting really old. They were old when they did the voices for these games. I'm pretty sure Simon Templeman's in his 70s and Michael Bell, Raziel, must be in his 80s by now. We've lost Tony J with his distinctive voice. He was also Megabyte in the original reboot series. So could you do a remake but use the original voice files? Or you would have to say, hey look, this is a remake. The original actors are either too old or dead. And have to try and find new actors with the same gravitas, which would piss off a lot of people, but really go a different direction with them. Which could be divisive, but I feel that's the only way to say, hey look, we don't want to try and redo Simon Templeman, Michael Bell and Tony J. So we're going to have to go in a completely new direction. I remember what this bit is. Because if I remember correctly, and I go here, there we go. I remember that twisting up. And that lets me over here. Big brain. Now this would look like a boss fight, but it's really not. There's no new mechanics, not a story significant monster at all, and just goes down with regular Reaver. No. Ah, right. Ah. So, this was, again, I'm confusing my Soul Reaver games. I was thinking you get the shoot the Reaver later on. You don't. You get it in Soul Reaver 1, therefore you have it in Soul Reaver 2. That means I could open the skylight in the other chamber. Oh well. I played these games so many times, they all kind of merge into one. Yeah, that would seem to suggest that you open it this way. I think I did that right. We'll soon find out. They did do a Lara Croft, that isometric Guardian of Light game, where they released a pack where instead of Lara Croft and random guy that she was with, you play as Kain and Raziel, because it was off Crystal Dynamics. And I bought that game and that pack solely to play as Kain and Raziel, thinking this game is going to be amazing and give more epic Soul Reaver 2 level dialogue and interactions between Kain and Raziel. I was bitterly disappointed. Instead, all they did was chop lines from the various Soul Reaver and Defiance games and remix them. Completely out of context in that game. Which was disappointing. It was only superficially Kain and Raziel. No. There we go. Up we go. Now, there was nothing tutorialized for a new player that hadn't played Soul Reaver 1 to know that you could shoot the Reaver as a projectile. Or maybe I just missed it. Okay. Come on, I did it. Come on, shoot the Reaver. Do we still need to get up there? Or is that enough? I think that's enough. So what does this do? So it's that skylight. That's obviously powering that. Let's go back to the second chamber. The 11-year-old me could figure this out. Really don't want to fight you. Go again. I'm pretty sure this is the Dark Temple. If memory serves, it might be the light one that's by the Sarafan Keep, and we don't get that till later on. I could be talking bollocks. Real indication. I feel like the light should be going through, well, that one, this pillar here. Well, actually, between the two, that feels like a hint, but between the two graphical styles, that's telling me that. That's telling me that. Well, we had it at that one. Let's try that. See if that helps at all. And those are just to help get up here. Now, in Soul Reaver 1, you could imbue the Reaver with fire. I think that was the only fragment of the magic system that made it into the final game. Okay, these pillars are saying half moon. Give me enough so I can walk back, please. Okay, you have it. missing anything. There's no other scalable walls here, I don't believe. So we've shot that open, and as far as I can tell, there's no way to get over there to spin that round. Okay, here we go. Here's another one of those pillars. It's not affecting the light that's going there. Have a look. See that I'm not missing anything back here. It's the Reaver. The Reaver on, press X to view the Reaver with dark. Now that's interesting that that tooltip's showing up, but we've not imbued the Reaver with dark yet. But this is the Dark Temple. Cutscene played. So I do remember this. This is basically we want the beams of light shining through, hitting that crystal. Am I going to have to look this up? I really hope not. How could 11-year-old me get this?
Lee, here is your reminder. Take antihistamine. Lee, here is your reminder. Take antihistamine.
Alexa reminding me to take my antihistamine.
No shaking report.
Oh, shut up. I feel we should definitely... sure there was a mechanic with hot air that Raziel could glide up. Doesn't seem to be a thing. Right, it's the end of the stream. And as much as my pride is hurt here, I feel I'm going to have to look this up because I want to at least get to the Vorador scene. So... just the bits that we need. Got N5. This is the right temple guide I think I have. This really hurts that I need to look this up. I'm going to put it down to the pressures of being on stream. Yeah, this is the right temple guide. Yeah, we did that. That's a little cutscene. Good, good, good. Yep, open that door. We did that. Get through. Jump up. Ah, right. I've got it. I've got it. Stupid me. Hold X to grab. Now it makes sense. Yep, yep. And that creates a pillar of darkness. I remember it now. It's all coming back. Oh, I feel dumb. I feel dumb. And this should, at some stage, open that gate. There we go. To be fair, it was trying to tell me. Yay, there we have it. There we have it. Look. That looks right. And that takes us back here. So I was missing a mechanic. But now that we have that mechanic, the rest should be self-evident. Did that guy just eat my lunch? Don't mind me scaling the walls. Ah, bollocks. Didn't get my glide on. Try again. And up and over. Thank you. Ah, I've just noticed that. The skulls have little chains following them. That's cool. Right. So now that we have that in place, and you can sort of tell by the texture here. There we have it. And now, very subtly, oh, wrong way. Can we get through there? Bit of a graphical glitch. Ah. See, big brain. May have taken me a bit longer, but I got there. I'm going to put that down to my lack of observational skills and not my intelligence. Ah, shit. Damn it, right. Shouldn't have warped into the spectral realm there. I know what I'm doing, A speed run this clearly isn't. Right. Should be able to swap back. Because I need to get past that gate. Again, if they were redesigning this bit, what might be funky is if you are doing a lot of backtracking, instead of having to go into the spectral realm every single time with slightly reduced health, have respawning enemies and try and drink a soul. It might be good if there was like the Dark Souls thing of a lever that you could pull once you've solved that bit, which would just help expedite the process. If I was offering constructive feedback. Right, don't fall off. You can do this in one jump. Yeah. Slightly clunky jumping controls. Whee. And over. Pick up. I know. So this obviously reflects the light, causing an eclipse. Yeah, there we go. Big brain, big brain. Just bad observation. So if you were playing through the Legacy of Kain games yourself, Blood Omen is dated and was made by a different team, but it's still Simon Templeman, and he's amazing, even back then as Kain, and it sets up a lot of what Soul Reaver 2 builds on. Soul Reaver 1 is the objectively better game.
As I neared the altar, I suddenly felt the Reaver quickening of its own volition.
But Soul Reaver 2
Just as in William's
is
chapel,
the one that nails the
balance
narrative.
of power tangibly shifted. Voracious
With
and
Defiance being
the
roughly
Soul Reaver was now in
2.5.
control, and I, merely its helpless puppet. The Reaver plunged itself into that mysterious altar.
I do recommend
devouring the
playing
energy that emanated from
Blood
within,
Omen,
drained this place
partly
of
for its graphical
power.
style, and
Thus
partly
fated,
because it's an excuse
Reaver
to
released
hang
me.
around with
And
Simon
I
Templeman's
realized
Kain
as I
a little bit
recovered
longer.
control, that these ancient shrines were forges,
And it is a fun
each
game,
purpose-built to enhance the Reaver.
but try not to think about it too
elemental
much
power.
in the context of the Soul Reaver series. And that's how Raziel levels up there. So because of the different timelines, you should play it Blood Omen 1, Soul Reaver 2, Blood Omen 2, Defiance, and that's
Now
the
I
chronological
understood
order
the purpose of the mysterious basins I had seen throughout my journey.
of the game going through
They
the
were
different
elemental
timelines.
fonts, each attuned to a fundamental essence. When I forged the blade, every font in Nosgoth with the same elemental attunement was simultaneously quickened. The Reaver's enhancements were never permanent, but these fonts enabled me to re-imbue the blade by bathing it in the elemental energy distilled therein.
Again, I love just Michael Bell's narration. Every aspect of the game has this great Shakespearean writing over it.
Concentric circles, one eclipsing the other. I recognized this symbol from the door sealing that other ancient shrine, the one I had seen in the lake outside the Sarafan stronghold. Perhaps now, armed as I was with the elemental power of darkness,
Yeah.
I could return and gain entry.
I'm pretty sure that's how you gain the Light Reaver. So like I said, there's no bosses in Soul Reaver 2. Once we've got this, we can head out. But there's huge narrative cutscenes and the relationships between the characters change. And probably my other favourite cutscene for Soul Reaver 2 is towards the end where Kain shows up to Raziel and Raziel's just tired. And he turns to Kain and he goes, you again. I don't feel I have the stomach for this conversation. And Kain just goes, now Raziel, it's fine. There's nothing dramatic happening this time. I just want to talk. and I love the progression of their relationship from the PS1 game, where Kain villain, Kain bad, he bad boss, go kill him, to this much more nuanced relationship. I would have liked to have seen where they would go with it in Dark Tide. Not Dark Tide, Dark Sun.
You're a ragged excuse for a savior.
Vorador.
I see my reputation precedes me.
It does.
All good, I hope?
I like
I've
Vorador's
been
new
watching
design.
you since you emerged from that accursed stronghold. Strange that your arrival coincides with the corruption of the Pillars. But I'm wondering, are you the catalyst of these events? Or the answer to them?
I don't know what you mean.
I will speak plainly then. I distrust your origin, stranger.
The runes on his back are a nice
Seeing you
touch.
crawl from the putrid depths of Mobius's keep makes me question your purpose here. And what should I make of your appearance? Not human, clearly, and more demon than vampire. And the Pillars. It is no mere coincidence that your arrival in that clearing heralded the Pillars' decay. And so I ask you plainly, are you the instrument of the Pillars' destruction, or their salvation?
Neither.
Very well. Let us look at the other side of the coin. I have followed your journey and watched as you blithely unlocked secrets that have been sealed and forbidden for thousands of years. The path you have been treading is open to only one being. You don't know what you are, do you?
I have been many things. If you find me ignorant, enlighten me.
What's the point? This world is beyond redemption. Let the human cattle have it.
I would expect better than meek capitulation from you.
Centuries of persecution have taught me well. 500 years ago, our race was nearly exterminated by the fanatical crusades of the Seraphan. And now the same sick drama unfolds again. In merely a decade, Mobius's cutthroat citizen army has nearly accomplished what the Seraphan could not. Vampires meddling in the affairs of men. Look where it's brought us.
What am I to make of these secrets I've uncovered, then? The depictions of the winged race, the Pillars, and the Reaver.
Fairy tales, boy. The delusions of an ancient culture clinging to hope long after the world had discarded them. Their bloodline trickled away, until only one of the ancients remained, sustained solely by obligation and his unfaltering faith in the old prophecies. But you see, even if you are who you appear to be, it no longer matters. You're simply too late. Janos Audron, the Reaver Guardian, the last of the ancients, and my maker, was murdered by the Seraphan nearly 5 centuries ago. He alone would have the answers you seek, but his secrets died with him. I don't know how you've come even this far without his guidance, or without the Reaver, stolen these 500 years ago by the Seraphan. I'm afraid, my friend, that you and all of us are out of luck.
I had no less reason to trust Vorador than anyone else I had met. In fact, the ancient vampire was the most forthright being I had encountered thus far. If Janos Audron was the key to all this, then I would find him, and Mobius's time-streaming device would provide me passage. But first, I had to find a way back into the stronghold, and I suspected I would find the means within the lake's mysterious shrine.
So yeah, Soul Reaver 2 is not a long game. And it's roughly in 3 sections. So the first one is if you like, present day, the middle point. So you would go, you would defeat or beat the light Reaver chamber, get that unlocked. You fight your way back into the Sarfas Stronghold. Mobius dicks you over, and Raziel asks to be sent back into the past to speak to Janos, but instead Mobius propels him into the future. You get a few more Reaver upgrades, but the rest of the game is then Raziel trying to get the necessary upgrades to work the time streaming chamber for himself to then get to the future, have his conversation with Janos, and then that sets up and kicks off the events of Defiance. I absolutely adore the series. I absolutely adore all these characters. I really wanted, I was saying this earlier, but I think a cutscene played. I really wanted to try and rewrite the story of Legacy of Kain using the established lore and clans in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodline, but set in the modern day with a similar sort of time mechanics where the party can go forward in time, and it's almost like a cyberpunk dystopian ruled by the vampires, or they could go back in time to like pre-Nosgoth, so maybe more Renaissance sort of Enlightenment era, and then the present day sort of being more kind of modern day classic Vampire the Masquerade, and then bringing elements of Maids the Ascension and stuff like that. So kicking off, the Circle of Mages are really annoyed that this new vampire has shown up, and he's apparently a fledgling but really powerful, and he's killed 6 of their number and working his way through, and the mages turn to the vampire, the Camarilla, or whatever other faction, and go, look, get your guy in check, but nobody knows who sired this vampire, and you know, that would be my kickoff, mirroring the events of Blood Omen but in a new setting, and I thought that could be really cool. But I discovered, much to my chagrin, that the Vampire the Masquerade community are very precious of their lore, don't like people messing around with it too much, at least on that particular Facebook group I was in, but it's something that I would play about with for sure. So we will leave Soul Reaver 2 there. It is one of my all-time favourite games, and if you've not played it, highly recommend you do so. It's quite short. As I said, 11-year-old me binged it in less than 48 hours. If your powers of observation are better than mine, I'm pretty sure you could do the same. Definitely play Soul Reaver 1 as well for the experience, but I think it's Soul Reaver 2 that'll stick with you. So, with that, I hope you had a chance to check out this week's episode of 4 Halfwits. Again, one of my favourite episodes, with Stu and Steve, particularly in just their character interaction. Tomorrow on our Patreon, I'll be dropping the Diaries of a Dungeon Master episode 2, where I go through that episode for any Patreons kind of supporters. As for these Yindie Play streams, I'm playing about with different editing styles to try and edit them down into short, snappy videos. Like I said, I wanted to do more long-form, scripted videos, a bit like Josh Strice's Was It Any Good? And I've got a couple of games in the works for that. So that's... But Halfwits needs to be the priority. So... Yindie Plays, I'll continue to do the streams. If we pick up traction, we pick up traction. Like I said, it's more of a bonus thing, and if people want to hang out after Halfwits, we certainly can. But with that, I will absolutely bid you adieu there just now. Thank you if you did join in at any point, and I will see you next week after Halfwits episode 3 drops. So, with that, I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next week. Thanks again, guys. Catch you later. Yindie out.
Hear the quests in sight. Yindie's leading through the night, fighting monsters, loot in sight. Roll the dice, it's game time tonight. Go Yindie, go Yindie, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go Yindie, go Yindie, go, go, go. Every quest battle, go, go, go. dragon's near. Spell or sword, we've got no fear. Party strong, the dice will roll. Yindi's world where we all control. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. Dungeon Master stealing the show. Go, Yindi, go, Yindi, go, go, go. And the quest battles, let's go, go, go.